Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna be watching the best era of Nickelodeon. Let's get it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Most beloved kids channel ever, with only a few competing networks. All of those networks, especially Nickelodeon, has had their high points and their low
I ain't
points.
really watched
I have
Nickelodeon
already
like that.
discussed in detail the lowest point of Nickelodeon.
I reacted to this video. Sandra and Craig, W. Breadwinners is W.
That being the decade of the 2010s. But it made me realize it was really easy to pick out the worst era of Nickelodeon, but not as easy to pick out the best era. When you look at the two obvious answers, the 90s or the 2000s, they both boast amazing shows, one after the
Comment down below on what y'all think the best era of Nickelodeon was.
other, but neither of the decades stick right out as the better one. Today, I'm going to analyze the 3.5 decades of Nickelodeon to figure out which one is the best. Disclaimer, I'm talking about cartoons only, because I have such little knowledge about most of the live-action shows. Unlike my other videos, I'm not going into this one with a clear answer to which one is superior. I grew up watching both the 90s and the 2000s, despite growing up in the early 2010s, so I don't have a particular bias for either one. So first, the 90s. It is regarded as the golden era. It may seem like the obvious pick, but when you see shows like Jimmy Neutron and Danny Phantom in the 2000s, it becomes conflicted. The first Nicktoon is Doug from 1991. Can't say that I'm a fan of this show very much. I don't really like the typical ordinary life shows that are slower paced. If I'm going to watch cartoons, I want to watch something that doesn't really exist. Rugrats is regarded as one of the best cartoons ever, so this is definitely a point for the 90s. This show began to introduce the overall tone of Nickelodeon. This show began to teach the world that these cartoons weren't like the Saturday morning cartoons. Not only did this show change the course of Nickelodeon, but I believe it kind of changed the course of the entire cartoon world. And speaking of changing the cartoon world, Ren and Stimpy. It was the show that made parents really question if their kids should be watching this. Ren is super abusive to Stimpy, and the gross out humor was revolutionary, I think in a bad way. It hadn't really been done much before this show. The entire theme of the show was disturbing. I watched most of it as a kid, and I definitely did not like the super dark parts. Personally, I don't think this has aged well, but this show is iconic to everyone else. Everybody knows Ren and Stimpy, and it helped pave the way for so many cartoons. Rocko's Modern Life, Cat Dog, and Angry Beavers are more amazing and iconic shows. They helped further mold Nickelodeon into what it is and what it would become. They were funny shows with humor that had yet to be seen in other cartoons. The fact that they had a show about a cat and a dog that were connected together really made you go, wow, they really will make a show as wacky as possible and make it fantastic. The lesser talked about shows.
I saw a TikTok on this, which it cat and dog scientifically, like, if it really was possible, what it was on TikTok. That shit was disturbing as fuck, though. So, hey. But in cartoons, it's not.
Our Real Monsters, Hey Arnold, and The Wild Thornberrys are still fantastic. I definitely do not like Hey Arnold, but I am in the minority. Our Real Monsters did somewhat feel like they kept trying to make a better show than the last one and then failed with this one. It's a little too repetitive. Hey Arnold is like another Doug, the everyday life stuff that I do not like. The Wild Thornberrys I don't like because of the nasty Klasky Chupo art, but is overall a fantastic concept. The worst show of the decade is Rocket Power. Again, it's one of those typical life shows but with an extreme sports theme. This is definitely one of those forgotten ones. Rocket Power is just one too many of those ordinary life shows. And finally, releasing at the very end of the decade, SpongeBob SquarePants. The best and most iconic show ever made. I mean, maybe ignore the recent seasons.
Y'all know that one scene? More power! Yo, that was my best. That was the best SpongeBob word. That was the best SpongeBob.
I'm talking about the first season, because that was the only one that aired in the 90s. That first season is the best animated content you'll ever see. Tea at the Tree Dome, Ripped Pants, Pizza Delivery, Home Sweet Pineapple, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, Pickles, Jellyfish Jam, Sandy's Rocket, SB129, Suds. Do I need to continue? Looking at the cartoon side of the 90s, there really wasn't a bad show. Rocket Power is the worst, but even that wasn't horrible. Of the 12 shows in this era, only 4 aren't the best, but that means 8 of the shows are good, and some of those I would even say fantastic. SpongeBob was revolutionary. Rugrats was revolutionary. As much as I don't want it to be, Ren and Stimpy was revolutionary. In their own ways, even Rocko's Modern Life and Cat Dog were revolutionary. So the 2000s have quite the impressive decade to beat. This era has 16 shows, so a lot of room for fantastic stuff, but also a lot of room to suck. Before I mention the new shows of the decade, SpongeBob has to be talked about again. For the first half of this decade, SpongeBob was still in its peak. More of those fantastic episodes we all love and remember came from this era. After the movie, it began to degrade a little bit, but still, the level of quality in those episodes does not compare to anything else Nickelodeon has put out. Starting off, not great,
Like
as told by Ginger. It's like Doug, it's not bad, and it's certainly watchable, just not really my type of show. The next show released was Fairly Odd Parents. Butch Hartman came in with this absolute banger. It never got to SpongeBob level, but it certainly was a close second. And then Invader Zim right after Fairly Odd Parents.
Watch that.
It's a creative and sometimes disgusting show. Some episodes are disturbing in concept, but in actuality don't seem as harsh. Chalk Zone, yet again, amazing show after another amazing show. This show is not talked about very much. It has a great plot, and honestly is pretty comparable to Fairly Odd Parents in some respects, but it falters from genericness. After you've seen 10 episodes, it feels like you've seen them all. Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, and Danny Phantom, two more fantastic shows, rivaling Fairly Odd Parents for that second place spot for this era. Jimmy Neutron is another show very similar to Fairly Odd Parents. Most episodes revolve around a new gadget Jimmy has made, which really lends itself to infinite possibilities. Danny Phantom is more akin to a superhero show. There are tons of recurring villains constantly pestering Danny. Ultimate Enemy is one of the all-time best Nickelodeon episodes. My Life as a Teenage Robot, another really great show that was overshadowed by the other great ones. Again, it's a lot like a superhero show. There are episodes that are definitely better than the others. Some of them can kinda run boring. All Grown Up is the odd one out of this stretch of shows. It's Rugrats but grown up, and I can't stand this show. The characters lose their charm when they're grown up. And then after that one comes Avatar The Last
Airbender? Bro, let me tell y'all. Back then, goated, bro. This shit was goated. But when the fuck they made a Rugrats adult? I never seen it, but hey, I probably trash anyways. Avatar's goated. This is finna make a new Avatar. I can't wait for the new Avatar to come out.
Regarded as one of the best animated shows ever. I can't disagree. Some of the most interesting, compelling, and awesome storytelling, period. And then halfway through this era, it starts to lose it a bit. There was a span of 4 shows that got 1 season, and I think all of them deserved at least a second one. Cat Scratch, The X's, El Tigre, and Attack of the Power of Juju. Cat Scratch isn't the best. The X's is worse. El Tigre is really good, and then Tack leaves a lot to be desired. Even though they weren't the best of shows, they should have gotten another chance to prove themselves. After that span, another 3 shows got cut short with only 2 seasons. I say cut short as if it was a bad thing. No, it definitely was not. Back at the Barnyard, The Mighty Bee, and Fanboy and Chum Chum. Back at the Barn.
Ooh, shit. Fanboy and Chum Chum. Back then, it was terrible, but now that shit is cringy as fuck.
Barnyard has its moments and is quite funny sometimes, but falters from lackluster stories. The Mighty Bee, I haven't watched much of, but I don't really care for it. And the dreaded Fanboy and Chum Chum. It ranks up there with Sanjay and Craig and Breadwinners.
Don't put Sanjay and Craig and Breadwinners with this. Sanjay and Craig and Breadwinners, goated. Goated. Don't put it up with Fanboy and Chum Chum. This is a brain rot. This is like pure brain rot. Sanjay and Craig and Breadwinners was like still good. It was like good brain rot. This is like bad brain rot. This shit is cringy as fuck. I don't know why I watched this. I don't remember scenes, but but when I look at it, I know it. If y'all know what I'm saying.
This show is 50% of the reason Nickelodeon is where it is today. And with that, just about rounds out the era. I don't need to spend too much time on this one.
Goated. I'm gonna watch it again. Silent Craig was goated. To me, it was. I don't give a fuck. If y'all could say it's bad, I don't care. Silent Craig was my childhood shit. That was good. And Breadwinners too.
As I already have an entire video on it, which you should go check out. But I'll give a quick overview. The 2010s started out rough with the release of Planet Sheen, a completely unnecessary spin-off that relied way too much on unfunny humor. One mediocre show after the other. Tough Puppy, Robot and Monster, Pig Goat Banana Cricket. They were watchable.
Oh shit!
But the other. Tough Puppy, Robot and Monster, Pig Goat.
I watched this. Pig Goat Banana Cricket. I ain't gonna lie to you. I watched this. It was cool. Could I tell you what this shit was about? No, because I don't remember. But when this shit comes on, I stick around and watch it. For a cool little, how long the episodes is. Stick around for like 2-3 episodes, then move on. I watched this.
Banana Cricket. They were watchable, but they were far from the best shows. Without a doubt, this decade has the worst shows from Nickelodeon. Sanjay and Craig.
No. I had a video on this and go into my channel, click the worst era of Nickelodeon. Sanjay and Craig, breadwinners, come on, best. And what this nigga? I forgot his name, but don't put breadwinners and Craig goated.
Breadwinners and Bunsen is a Beast. These are all disgusting poop humor shows that wanted to gross you out. Not a whole lot to like about them. There's an
What
entire
you talking about? This is goated. Maybe my humor was the back then was childish. I don't go damn. This shit was goated. You know how much times for these past days, for these past years, that I wanted to watch these shits again, but I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. Like I couldn't find no videos on this bitch. Now, I'm still trying.
entire episode about Sanjay getting pregnant with a fart. Breadwinners was
Okay, I ain't gonna lie. There is questionable things in Sanjay and Craig, but still goated. Breadwinners go to 2. The songs and shit too.
even worse. Bunsen is a Beast is the most generic show known to man. You've already seen the show before you've seen the show. There were very few good
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, goated. This is the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles out there.
shows in this decade. Teenage Mutant Ninja
This
Turtles,
movie, the live
and
action movie, best.
well, that's about it. The flagship shows, SpongeBob and Fairly OddParents, began to severely deteriorate and lose quality. There was hope for the decade to be saved by their new flagship, The Loud House, but that got bad quick. By the end of the decade, the only thing really surviving was watered-down, over-animated SpongeBob and repetitive Loud House. Fairly OddParents...
Bro, you know how much times I would fucking play, bro? Like, yo. So, Pete. So, let me get a scenario real quick. So, Pete. There's nothing good on Cartoon Network. There's nothing good on Disney Channel. Well, there's always some good on Disney XD, but if there's nothing good on that, there's just a bad day. The only thing the only thing you can watch is Nickelodeon. And brother, this shit used to play all the time. The 2 things, SpongeBob and Loud House plays every day, bro. I could not stand that shit. But we had y'all know this Nickelodeon Nicktoons? Bro, that's one of these things you should in New York. Yo, bro, Nicktoons and things was goated.
along with every new show, was canceled before it could prove itself. Looking at you, Harvey Beaks.
Harvey Beaks is good too. I like Harvey Beaks.
Suffice to say, this decade was a low point for Nickelodeon, and currently the lowest point. Barely any memorable shows. Terrible
still remember
poop
the
humor,
song.
dropping views. They didn't know what to do. Which leads us to the current era. Okay, I can't fairly say this era is good or bad because it's far from over. We're not even halfway through, but it's not promising. It's clear Nickelodeon still doesn't know.
Ooh, I had a crazy memory. Never
What to do. This entire decade so far, along with the last couple of years of the previous one, are full of reboots, spin-offs, and licensed IP shows. The decade starts off with a pretty generic, it's pony. It's whatever. It's boring from the handful of episodes I've seen. There was Glitch Text, which I have not seen, but gets tons of praise online. Middlemost Post, which is awful. Flashy animation, unfunny, and I don't think the concept is executed well. Rock, Paper, Scissors is a breath of fresh air. It has better episode plots and funnier sequences than most of the shows from the past 10 years. That's it so far for original shows. The amount of them isn't hateful. What is hateful is the
Whoever made this, bro? No. Why is this a thing? I'm not watching this shit, bro.
flow of spin-offs and shows based on other
The
IPs.
quality already looks
Camp
bad.
Coral is quite the step down from SpongeBob, which already really sucks at this point. It retcons past episodes of SpongeBob, and in general doesn't really change the dynamic that much of regular SpongeBob. The Patrick Star Show is especially heinous. Why does this need to exist? Patrick hosts his own talk show. The worst part is literally all the characters from SpongeBob are in this show. Patrick is a fantastic side character, not a lead character. Also, again, retconning episodes of SpongeBob and replacing his whole family. Nickelodeon, I'm going to give you an idea. You ought to do a spin-off of this show and call it the SpongeBob SquarePants Show. Just make it as redundant as possible. The Rugrats 2021 reboot is again a step down from normal Rugrats. I've said this before, but the only positive thing from this is that kids today at least get a taste of past shows. Fairly Odd Parents, A New Wish.
I gotta watch that. Bro, people say they was hating on this. Now it's good. People was hating on this. Now they're saying it's good.
Definitely the best reboot. But I just don't understand. If you're gonna bring back every character, why not just bring back Timmy and just...
And Timmy C went to be a bus driver? Put him in a bus. Oh, unless there was a scene of that. I think there was a scene. Maybe. I saw it on something. I could be bugging.
do what Rugrats did. And then the other category of shows, the licensed IPs. None of these shows make sense to me. Star Trek Prodigy, Big Nate, Monster High, and Transformers Earthspark are all shows based on other properties. Star Trek is the weirdest one to me. It does not at all feel like Nickelodeon. It's starting to look like Nickelodeon is losing its sense of identity. The older shows, SpongeBob and Loud House, need to end.
Damn, that shit. What?
And SpongeBob especially. They just celebrated their 25th
Was that a real clean?
anniversary. Not many shows do that. SpongeBob is no longer SpongeBob.
What the fuck did they do to SpongeBob, bro? Is this a real scene? What the bro, what y'all do to SpongeBob, bro? Why? Why is this a
SpongeBob? The characters do not act like themselves, and the stories no longer have the charm of the old episodes. There has been such a shift that doesn't even feel like SpongeBob anymore. This decade is shaping up to overtake the 2010s title as the worst era. But I don't want to make any claims like that yet, because a show could come along that surprises everybody and fixes the decade. After the overview of all four of the eras, it's
take this, huh? Oh, wait. Is this good or bad?
pretty easy to say the 2010s are the worst. And 2020...
I already made a video about this.
20s so far aren't the best. And it obviously leaves us with the 90s and the 2000s. Everybody that has clicked on the video knew it would come down to these two. I have made my decision. The best era of Nickelodeon is...
Don't put the 90s. 2000s, of course.
The 2000s. I know it's sacrilege to say the 90s aren't the best era, but just hear me out for a second. Let's compare them show by show. The best show in the 90s was SpongeBob. The best show in the 2000s was also SpongeBob. I think it's unfair to give all of SpongeBob to the 90s, because the 2000s spawned a majority of the top tier and iconic episodes. Let's just bypass that for a second. The next best, Rugrats, compared to Fairly Odd Parents. I definitely watched a whole lot more Fairly Odd Parents, and only a fraction of Rugrats, but I still have a hard time seeing the comparison. For the sake of the argument, let's just say it's a tie, because the other shows will just further prove my point. The 90s third best show, I would say Rocco, but I think the majority would say Ren and Stimpy. So we'll go with Ren and Stimpy. The 2000s third best, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Is there really a competition? Rocco to Jimmy Neutron. Okay, Rocco might win this one. Cat Dog to Danny Phantom. Danny Phantom is better. It's barely a contest. Angry Beavers to Invader Zim. Not a chance Angry Beavers beats Zim. Ariel Monsters, Hey Arnold, Wild Thornberries. Can any of them match up against My Life as a Teenage Robot? Maybe Ariel Monsters might tie, but Teenage Robot is better than Hey Arnold and Wild Thornberries. I haven't even mentioned El Tigre or Chalk Zone. Maybe you don't think this is a good way of looking at it. Maybe you look at the 90s run of shows and the lack of garbage, and then compare it to the 2000s, and then definitely see the garbage. Fanboy and Chum Chum, The X's, The Mighty Bee. Yeah, those don't compare to the worst of the 90s. I have quite the sneaking suspicion that some people disagree with this, but I'm standing my ground. I think the 2000s are actually much better than the 90s. SpongeBob was at its peak.
2000 was just the best
Game-changing
year
shows
of all
like Fairly
times.
Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron,
Not because I
Danny
was born,
Phantom,
just
and
'cause.
Invader Zim were airing.
It
It
was
had
the best
flaws, the most glaring being Fanboy and Chum Chum, but there are less worse ones being the X's, the Mighty Bee, and Tack and the Power of Juju. Even though I'm saying this era is better, we have to remember, without the 90s era, the 2000s era wouldn't exist. Thank you all for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe for more awesome content like this.
Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, man. I'm gonna see you on the next video. Peace.